Today we're talking about the most realistic horror movie ever. We're going over the movie The Strangers, which is a super creepy home invasion movie. This movie really scared me because it's not some scary doll with a knife or some unstoppable killer. It's just three people that went into this couple's safe space, their home, and did something evil to them just because they can. So let's get right into it. So this movie opens up with some words floating on the screen saying that it was inspired by true events. So yeah, I feel like you could see where I'm coming from when I say this is one of the most realistic horror movies. The next sentence they put on the screen is that on the night of February 11th, 2005, Kristen McKay and James Hoyt left a friend's wedding reception and returned to the Hoyt's family summer home. So now the actual opening scene occurs. We hear someone panicked and on the line with 911. And we see these two dripped out kids walk into what looks like the aftermath of something evil that occurred the night before. There's a wedding ring on the floor, a bloody knife, and a massive bloodstain on the wall. Something tells me that the people that live in this house did not have too much fun last night. I don't know though. Then we cut to the past. Now we're going to see how bad this night truly was. We see the two main characters from the floating sentence earlier. This is Chiller James and this is Kristen. And yeah, the floating sentence earlier did not lie. They look like they just came home from a wedding. But they don't look too happy. Kristen goes into the bath looking all sad and stuff like she's about to watch some Bart Simpson edits. And Chiller James is nibbling on some ice cream, which makes sense because he's Chiller James. And he calls his boy to come pick him up. Definitely a weird vibe between the two right now, especially with all the rose petals in the house everywhere. You would think they'd be in for a romantic evening, but I guess not. We then cut back to the past for a second time and we see Chiller James get serious and ask Kristen to be his wife, but it doesn't look like Kristen wants any part of all that. But it doesn't seem like Chiller James is mad at her because he's just a chiller, which I respect. They still clearly care about each other even after this whole rejection situation. Then they start getting freaky because how could you not after your girlfriend rejects your proposal? Yeah, like I said, they clearly still like each other, which I like about this movie. I think it makes it more realistic. They don't put on pouty faces or get cartoonishly mad at each other. They feel like real people who are in an awkward situation right now. And just because she rejected his proposal doesn't mean he can just like turn his feelings off. That's not how it works. So yeah, like I said, it feels realistic. But now here's when the movie starts getting evil. We hear a knock on the door. Is that evil knocking? So Chiller James opens the door and sees that there is this blonde girl standing there. She asks if Tamara's here and Chiller James is like, nah, lo bro, you got the wrong house. Damn, he's chill. Then this blonde girl doesn't say something like, oh, I'm sorry, or okay, bye. She says, I'll see you later. Okay, you can see me later. Maybe like in the morning, I need my 8 hours of sleep. That's how I respond, but I'm not in this movie, so. So after that weird encounter, they go back to chilling and Kristen wants to smoke a cigarette, but she realizes that there aren't any left. So Chiller James, being the nice, cool guy he is, he offers to go drive to the store and pick some up for her. Even after she just said, I don't want to marry your sorry broke ass. Ew. So he leaves on his side quest and leaves Kristen alone in the house. So while he's gone, she tries on the ring that he got for her and sits on the couch and just ponders. A lot of pondering in this movie. And I ain't talking Christian ponder. If you get the reference, you know ball. Then we hear a loud knock on the door and Kristen asks who's there. And we hear the same NPC from earlier repeat her dialogue because I guess that's all she's programmed to say. Is Tamara home? Kristen tells her to go on and get. Like the blonde girl's an 80s dog from a drama movie. She goes back to the fire and realizes that it's getting a little smoky. The smoke alarm starts beeping, so she takes it down, and then we hear another knock at the door. And guess who's back? Back again. Honestly, I'd low-key be surprised if it was the same NPC blonde girl, because she did just tell her to go on and get. So why wouldn't she do that? But let's see who it is. Or I guess not, because she just goes to her phone and wants to call Chiller James. But her phone is dead, so she plugs it in. And right now it seems like everything that could go wrong has gone wrong. A bad wedding day, no cigs, and the weird blonde girl being all weird. She then goes to use the house phone to tell Chiller James to come back because she's a little freaked out. We see the call disconnect and now we see one of my favorite shots in movies. Kristen just staring into space, like she does, probably pondering, but there's evil in the back. She just can't see it. And this is what makes this movie so creepy. There's no reason for this creepy stuff to be happening. They didn't break a one-wish willow. There isn't some unk who needs to feed off people like a leech to live. These are just two people living their normal life, and for no reason, this happens to them. And you got three strangers turning what is an awkward night into what they're hoping is their last night, just because. Which means this story could happen to anyone, including you, because there's no motivation for these specific people to be killed. But now let's continue with this shot, which goes on for a decent bit, which is awesome because I love a longer shot. And yeah, this is super unsettling. not realizing that there's someone in your house and staring at you. And why would she? She has no reason to believe that there are people in her house right now. Yes, she should definitely be on edge after the weird NPC blonde girl situation, but not to the point where you're nervous that people may have entered into your house. Now we see Kristen turn around and you think, holy shit, she's gonna see Baghead Man. But Baghead Man just disappears into the shadows of the house. Holy crap, how intense is that? Now we're playing with the fear of the unknown, thinking where the hell is Baghead Man? Super scary stuff. Now we hear another fucking knock on the door. And at this point you gotta call the police, girl. This is getting ridiculous even considering the fact that she doesn't even know that Baghead Man is in her house. But now she knows that someone's in her house, because the smoke detector that she took down earlier is now placed on a chair. We also see that the charging cable is cut in half, and goddamn, if I was her, man, I'd just disintegrate on the spot like Thanos just snapped. Can't even imagine the terror of seeing that shit and knowing that there's someone in your house but having no idea where they actually are in your house. She then takes a peek out the window and sees Baghead Man standing there, menacingly, and she screams like she just saw Baghead Man standing there, menacingly. She then bumps into a record player and we get to hear some super creepy ass music while all this shit is going down, which is cool for the movie but not too cool for Kristen. We then see the front door creak open, and I know if that were me, I'd just freeze on the spot. A lot of people judge horror movie characters for freezing because when they're watching the movie, they're thinking logically. But I know damn well that if I saw that door open, which is the only thing protecting me from the threats outside, I'd mannequin challenge so fast. So now we see Kristen close the door and go to her bedroom holding a knife, and she looks like she has the case of the heebie-jeebies. Then the creepy song gets turned off, and we realize that someone is coming towards Kristen, and it's evil. Oh wait, it's just Chiller James. But he's not so chill about everything anymore, because he's like, yo, why is your hand all messed up? And why are you freaking out? Just be a chiller like me. He then searches the house and he does not see Baghead Man anywhere. But then we see Kristen's phone tossed in the fireplace. And something tells me that her phone ain't gonna tell her, it just needs some time to cool down. That phone is cooked. Literally. I know that was bad, I'm sorry. Now we get another shot that I really like, when they both look out the window and they see the blonde girl, just standing there, menacingly. But then, like the NPC she is, she must have despawned or something, because when they look back, she's gone. Maybe she finally got on and get and like left them alone. Now we see Chiller James go to his car to try to grab his phone, but it looks like a crazy ex got to it first. This car is fucked up badly. As Chiller James is looking in his car seeing what's up, he gets touched on the back of his head, and he turns around and the person just runs away. So yeah, if you haven't realized by now, these people are like really insane, and they're just doing it for the love of the game. Chiller James then sees the NPC blonde girl on the street again and tries to settle this rationally with some dialogue, as a calm showing presence would do. And he asks, what do you want? She just leaves him unheard though. I don't know, maybe she'll respond later. Kristen's scared that the blonde NPC girl and Chiller James are getting it on romantically, so she hops out to see what's up. I don't know, that's what I thought in my head. I don't really know why she went outside. Maybe she was like nervous or something. So Chiller James takes his eye off the blonde NPC girl and looks at Kristen. But when he turns back, the blonde NPC girl has despawned. You gotta keep your eye on her. Chiller James then takes care of Kristen's hand, because he can't have blood spilling everywhere in his beautiful home. So he wraps it up. Kristen asks, why would anyone do this? And yeah, man, I'd ask the same question. It's kind of crazy to think that like real killers actually exist and they like actually kill people. I know I forget that sometimes because I'm so into like the movies and stuff. And you see people die and it obviously doesn't hit as hard as like real people dying. So for me, it's crazy to think that, yeah, this actually happens. There were people that were scared for their life and got it taken away by a crazy killer. So then Chiller James looks at his phone and realizes that the strangers mess with it. So he stays calm and analyzes the situation. He runs like a million simulations in his head like Doctor Strange and comes to the conclusion that it's time for them to leave. They hop in the truck and attempt to drive away, but White Mask Lady is lurking in the shadows. She pulls up on him and rams her car into the back of theirs. And if that was me, I'd be like, oh my god, my car, no, I love my car. So now that the car is fucked, they run back to the house. And right when they get in the house, Chiller James is looking for a toy to play with. His shotgun. He loads it up so he's ready when the strangers pull up. And when I get my own house, I think I'm going to be a gun owner. So if this shit happens to me, I'm prepared. Imagine only having a kitchen knife or like a baseball bat in this kind of situation. You're just holding it wishing you bought a gun. I don't know, man. It could save my life at some point, especially because this video is called the most realistic horror movie. This shit could really happen. Just like the Vikings could eventually win a Super Bowl. Let me be delusional. So they go back to their bedroom probably because they're tired and want to catch up on their Z's. But then they see a welcoming message from the strangers on their window. It says hello multiple times just in case they can't see it the first time they wrote it. And in red so it really pops and they 100% can't miss it. How nice. Maybe they're not so bad after all. Then the strangers watch The Shining real quick and come back with an axe through the door. The couple throw some furniture on that door and hide in the bedroom with Chiller James hitting a tough pose. Chiller James' friend Mike pulls up because, remember, he called him to pull up earlier? So he pulls up to the summer home and gets his window immediately smashed. He looks around to see if he can spot anyone, but all he can see is John Cena. He glances at the car that was hit earlier and comes to the conclusion that something evil is occurring. Detective Mike, going to work. He walks into the house and the creepy music is playing. Baghead Man is behind Mike and about to attack him as he walks down the hallway, but just then, Chiller James uses his Second Amendment right. And wow, poor Chiller James, man. He was just trying to protect his girlfriend and himself. He saw someone lurking. How could you not shoot? Super unfortunate it ends up being his homeboy. I was sick watching this part of the movie. So right now I want to point out how realistic this movie is so far. The characters aren't your stereotypical horror movie dumbasses. They attempt to flee in a car, but can't, and they attempt to protect themselves with a shotgun, but it just ends up unfortunately for them. However, I still think that is probably like the most smart decision you've ever seen in a horror movie. To arm yourself and load up that gun, I think those decisions add to the realism of the movie, because you would probably do the same. I know I would. So yeah, now we see where the bloodstain from earlier in the movie came from. Just awful. So I don't think I should call him Chiller James anymore, because he's tweaking the fuck out now, which is reasonable. I'm gonna call him Killer James from now on. Not because he just killed his best friend, but because he has that Kobe Bryant mentality right now where he's gonna do whatever it takes to survive. And I think the strangers would agree with me, because they wrote killer on the window. So yeah, the threat is still threatening. And Killer James wants to end this once and for all. He knows that there's a radio in the barn and he wants to go grab it. So he heads outside and wants to go to the barn. He looks at his car and sees it's been messed with by the strangers. Then he finally heads over to the barn and sees an evil stranger. He aims his gun at him and he's ready to fire, but then the stranger blinds him with his light. And then we see Baghead Man run behind him looking all evil. Kristen realizes that Killer James not being back, not a good sign. So she goes outside to try to get the radio from the barn herself. She falls though and tries to crawl her way to the barn. But White Mask Lady is coming and she's looking evil. But then Kristen turns around and sees White Mask Lady is gone. I think the reason the strangers do this is because they want to make their victims feel like they have hope, so they eventually can just take it away from them. Like I said, they're doing this for the love of the game. I think that's the reason. So then we see Kristen grab the radio, but White Mask Lady whacks it. Then we see Kristen crawl away and end up back in the house. Now the strangers turn the lights off and this would be so fucking scary. Just more fear of the unknown and not knowing where they are. Kristen's now hiding and looking at Baghead Man. Baghead Man leaves so she thinks she's safe. Or so you think, because then NPC blonde girl starts shaking the shit out of the cabinet, acting like the game developers gave her more code now or something. So after shaking the shit out of the cabinet, she walks away and looks at the ring that Kristen was supposed to wear. Now, I work at a summer camp, and this is exactly how little kids act. They're on every drug imaginable for like 20 seconds, and then they're staring at a blade of grass like it's the Mona Lisa. Kristen asks NPC blonde girl, why are they doing this? But she leaves her unheard as well. Then we see Killer James get tossed into the room by Baghead Man, and he's holding the shotgun now. And goddamn, if I was Kristen, there'd be poop in my pants. Kristen tries to make a run for it, but White Mask Lady is blocking the door like a frat bouncer. So she waddles to the bedroom and the lights turn on again. But it's Baghead Man out of nowhere hitting a WWE move on her, and then he drags her away. We cut to the morning, and then we get another shot that is just so cool and so terrifying. It's the couple and the strangers face to face. Or masked face. Maybe third time's a charm because Kristen asks again, why are they doing this? And if they don't answer this time, you might as well go full CJ Shroud. Go for it a fourth time. What do you have to lose? They finally answer though, and they say the iconic line, because you were home. Just super scary stuff. Feels super real. Like this could happen to anyone. This could happen to you. Damn. So Kristen and Killer James are pretty upset for some reason. But now we see Kristen with the ring on, and they're both telling each other how much they love each other. Super sad, man. Because the strangers are about to kill them, they take off their masks. We don't see them, but the main characters do. And now the strangers start stabbing them, and they respond like they're getting brutally murdered for no reason. I think these kills feel so real, because they're not the standard slasher kill, where, oh my god, we need to top the last movie that we did, We have to turn this kid into a fucking meatball and have our slasher killer eat him. Cause that's the only way this movie's gonna be entertaining. Nope. They just stab him because it's easy to die when you're getting stabbed with a knife. You don't need to be turned into a meatball to be dead. So yeah, we see James dead on the floor, and man, literally nothing went right for him this whole movie. Brutal. Now we see Kristen still alive, and she hears her cell phone ringing. She attempts to crawl over to it so maybe she can get some help and answer the fucking phone. Baghead man, though, shows up behind her, takes the phone away, and just walks away, leaving Kristen. We see those two dripped out kids from earlier get stopped by the strangers on the road, who ask for their little book thingy, because obviously they're people who believe in God and stuff. The boys then pull up to the scene like they do in the beginning. They reach out towards Kristen, and she lets out a scream that I did not like to hear while watching this movie with the lights off, all alone. And that's the movie. I think The Strangers is the most realistic horror movie ever, just because of how real the characters feel and how they behave. This really feels like this movie could happen to anyone, and I don't like that. But that's the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give it a like, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content. But yeah, that's the video. See you in the next one. Peace.